The twin suns of Nexus 9 cast long shadows across the barren landscape as Scout Zara Vance crested another rocky hill. Her exosuit's cooling system worked overtime, fighting against the oppressive heat that seemed to radiate from every direction. Zara paused, taking a moment to survey the desolate terrain through her helmet's heads-up display. "Anything yet, Scout Vance?" Captain Ilara's voice crackled through the comm. Zara sighed, her eyes scanning the horizon. "Negative, Captain. Just more rocks and dust." "Are you sure the distress signal originated from this sector?" There was a brief pause before the captain responded. "Affirmative. Our sensors picked up a faint signal about 2 clicks north of your current position. Keep pushing forward." "Understood," Zara replied, her voice tinged with resignation. She'd been on countless scouting missions before, but something about Nexus 9 set her nerves on edge. The planet had been a hotly contested battleground in the Galactic War, and though the fighting had moved on years ago, its scars remained etched into the very landscape. As Zara continued her trek, the terrain grew increasingly treacherous. Jagged rock formations jutted out at odd angles, and deep crevasses split the ground, forcing her to choose her path carefully. Her suit's sensors constantly scanned for any signs of life or technology, but so far they had come up empty. Just as Zara was about to call it quits and suggest they move on to another sector, her HUD lit up with an alert. "Captain, I'm picking up some strange readings about 500 meters ahead. It's faint, but definitely artificial." "Proceed with caution, Scout Vance. We don't know what's out there." Zara's heart rate quickened as she approached the source of the signal. As she rounded a large boulder, she froze in her tracks. There, half buried in the loose gravel and partially hidden by the shadow of an overhanging rock, lay a figure. It wasn't human. Zara approached slowly, her hand instinctively moving to the blaster at her hip. The alien was humanoid in shape, but that's where the similarities ended. Its skin was a pale, iridescent blue, and instead of hair, a crest of delicate, fin-like appendages adorned its head. The alien wore what appeared to be some kind of battle armor, though it was badly damaged and caked with dust. "Captain, I found something. It's an alien. Looks like it's injured." "What species?" Ilara demanded, her voice tense. Zara knelt beside the prone figure, her suit's scanners working to analyze its biology. "I'm not sure. It's not in our database. But Captain, it's still alive." There was a long pause, and Zara could almost hear the wheels turning in Ilara's head. Helping an unknown alien species could be seen as a violation of the non-interference protocols. But leaving a sentient being to die also went against everything the Terran Expeditionary Force stood for. Finally, Ilara spoke. "Can you move it safely?" Zara ran another quick scan. "I think so. Its injuries don't appear to be immediately life-threatening, but it needs medical attention soon." "All right, Scout Vance. Bring it in. We'll figure out what to do once it's aboard the horizon." With a mix of trepidation and excitement, Zara carefully lifted the alien. It was surprisingly light, despite its armor. As she secured it to her exosuit's emergency transport harness, she couldn't help but wonder about the series of events that had led this strange being to this desolate place. The journey back to the landing site was arduous. Zara had to move slowly to avoid jostling her unconscious passenger, all while navigating the treacherous terrain. By the time the sleek form of the horizon came into view, Zara's muscles were screaming in protest. As she approached the ship's lowered ramp, she saw Captain Ilara waiting, flanked by Dr. Malik, the ship's chief medical officer, and security chief Riven. Their expressions were a mix of curiosity and concern. "Easy does it," Dr. Malik said as Zara carefully transferred the alien onto a hover gurney. "Let's get our guest to medbay. I'll need to run a full diagnostic." As they moved through the ship's corridors, crew members stopped and stared, whispering among themselves. It wasn't every day that an unknown alien species was brought aboard. In the medbay, Dr. Malik immediately set to work, his hands moving deftly over holographic displays as he analyzed the alien's physiology. "Fascinating," he muttered. "Its cellular structure is unlike anything I've ever seen." Captain Elara turned to Zara. "Good work, Scout. Get cleaned up and meet me in the briefing room in an hour. We need to discuss our next steps." As Zara headed to her quarters, her mind raced with questions. Who was this alien? How had it ended up alone and injured on Nexus 9? And what would happen when it woke up? Little did Zara know that her discovery would set in motion a chain of events that would change the course of galactic history. The alien she had rescued was no ordinary being, and its presence on the horizon would soon draw the attention of forces both ancient and terrifying. As the horizon broke orbit, leaving the dusty surface of Nexus 9 behind, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the precipice of something monumental. Whatever lay ahead, she knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The briefing room hummed with tension as Zara entered. Captain Elara stood at the head of the table, her stern features illuminated by the holographic display of Nexus 9 rotating slowly above the center console. Dr. Malik and Security Chief Riven were already seated, engaged in a heated discussion. "Ah, Scout Vance," Elara said, gesturing for Zara to take a seat. "Let's begin. Dr. Malik, what can you tell us about our guest?" The doctor cleared his throat, his fingers dancing over a datapad. "Well, it's remarkable, really. The alien's biology is incredibly resilient. Despite severe dehydration and multiple injuries, it's already showing signs of recovery. Its cellular regeneration rate is off the charts." "Is it a threat?" Riven interjected, his cybernetic eye whirring as it focused on the doctor. Dr. Malik shook his head. "I don't believe so. At least, not in its current state. It remains unconscious, but brain activity suggests it may wake soon." Captain Elara's brow furrowed. "And when it does, can we communicate with it?" "That's where things get interesting," Dr. Malik replied, a hint of excitement in his voice. "Its brain structure suggests highly developed linguistic centers. I believe our universal translator might be able to interface with its neural patterns, given some time to calibrate." Zara leaned forward, intrigued. "So we might actually be able to talk to it, find out who it is and why it was on Nexus 9. "Possibly," Elara said, her tone cautious. "But we need to consider the bigger picture. We're in uncharted territory here, both literally and figuratively. This sector is far beyond our usual patrol routes. If this alien is part of an unknown civilization, we could be risking a diplomatic incident." Riven's cybernetic hand clenched. "Or worse, this could be a trap. We should jettison it before." "That's not an option," Zara interrupted, surprising herself with her vehemence. "We can't just abandon it. That goes against everything we stand for." A tense silence fell over the room. Elara studied Zara for a long moment before nodding slowly. "I agree. Whatever the risks, we have a duty to help. But we'll proceed with caution. Dr. Malik, continue your efforts to establish communication. Riven, I want security protocols at maximum. No one goes near our guest without authorization. Understood." As the meeting adjourned, Zara found herself drawn back to the med bay. Through the observation window, she could see the alien lying motionless on the biobed, various holographic readouts hovering above it. Its iridescent skin seemed to pulse gently, almost as if it were breathing through its entire body. "Fascinating, isn't it?" Dr. Malik's voice startled her. He had appeared beside her, his eyes gleaming with scientific curiosity. Zara nodded. "I've never seen anything like it. Do you think it's sentient? I mean, truly sentient like us?" The doctor smiled. "Oh, I bet my entire collection of Andromedan fungi on it. The brain scans show complex neural pathways consistent with higher-order thinking. This being isn't just intelligent, it might be far more advanced than we are in some ways." As if on cue, an alarm began to sound from within the med bay. The alien's body had begun to twitch, its crest of fin-like appendages fanning out and changing color rapidly. It's waking up, Dr. Malik exclaimed, rushing into the room with Zara close behind. The alien's eyes snapped open, revealing irises that shimmered like opals. It bolted upright, its gaze darting around the room in panic. A series of clicking and whistling sounds emanated from somewhere in its throat. "Easy, easy," Dr. Malik said soothingly, holding up his hands in a placating gesture. "You're safe. We're not going to hurt you." The alien's eyes locked onto Zara, and she felt a strange sensation, as if something was probing at the edges of her mind. The universal translator on her wrist beat, struggling to process the alien's vocalizations. Suddenly, a voice resonated in her head, bypassing her ears entirely. Who are you? Where am I?" Zara gasped, stumbling back a step. Did you hear that?" she asked Dr. Malik, who looked at her in confusion. "Hear what? It's making sounds, but the translator hasn't cracked the language yet." Zara swallowed hard, realizing that somehow the alien was communicating directly with her mind. She took a deep breath and focused her thoughts, hoping the alien would understand. "My name is Zara," she thought, picturing the words in her mind. "You're aboard our ship, the Horizon. We found you injured on a planet called Nexus 9. We brought you here to help you." The alien's posture relaxed slightly, its crest settling into a softer, bluish hue. I remember pain, betrayal, my people." Its mental voice trailed off, tinged with anguish. "What's your name?" Zara asked gently. "Where do you come from?" The alien's eyes seemed to shimmer with an inner light. "I am Xandri of the Luminae. My home, it is far from here, in a place your kind calls the Whirlpool Galaxy." Zara's mind reeled at the implications. The Whirlpool Galaxy was millions of light years away. How had Xandri ended up here, so far from home? Before she could ask more questions, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Captain Elara's voice came over the intercom, tense and urgent. "All hands to battle stations. Unknown vessels approaching at high speed. This is not a drill." Zara looked at Xandri, whose expression had shifted to one of grim determination. "They found me," the alien thought, its mental voice heavy with resignation. As the horizon shuddered under the first volley of enemy fire, Zara realized that their rescue mission had just become far more complicated than anyone could have imagined. The fate of not just Xandri, but potentially their entire crew, now hung in the balance. The horizon shuddered again as another barrage of energy weapons impacted its shields. Zara steadied herself against the medbay wall, her mind racing. Xandri was now fully alert, its iridescent skin pulsing with what seemed to be agitation or fear. "We need to get you somewhere safe," Zara thought urgently, hoping her mental message would reach the alien. Xandri's opalescent eyes fixed on her. "No, I can help. My presence here endangers your people. I must face this." Before Zara could protest, the alien swung its legs off the biobed and stood, swaying slightly. Dr. Malik moved to intervene, but Xandri held up a hand, its crest flaring a deep purple. "Take me to your command center," Xandri communicated, this time projecting the thought so both Zara and Dr. Malik could hear. The doctor stumbled back, startled by the sudden intrusion into his mind. Zara hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Follow me." As they rushed through the corridors, crew members scrambled to their stations, casting curious glances at the strange alien accompanying Zara. When they reached the bridge, Captain Elara spun to face them, her expression a mix of surprise and anger. "Scout Vance, what is the meaning of this?" she demanded. Before Zara could explain, Xandri stepped forward. Its mental voice resonated through the minds of everyone on the bridge, causing a collective gasp. "I am Xandri of the Luminae. The ships attacking you are here for me. Allow me to communicate with them. I may be able to prevent further bloodshed." Captain Elara's eyes widened, but to her credit, she recovered quickly. "Very well. Open a channel." The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a being similar in appearance to Xandri, but with a crest that glowed an ominous red. Its voice boomed through the ship's speakers. "Terran vessel, surrender the traitor Xandri immediately, or be destroyed." Xandri moved to the front of the bridge, its posture regal despite its recent injuries. It spoke aloud for the first time, its voice a melodious blend of whistles and clicks that the ship's translator struggled to keep up with. "Vorkath, old friend, why do you persist in this madness? The artifact was never meant for our people. Its power will destroy us all." The alien commander, Vorkath, snarled. "You are a fool, Xandri. The artifact is our birthright. With it, we can reshape the galaxy in our image. Stand down and return with us, or watch as we obliterate these primitive humans you seem so fond of." Captain Elara stepped forward. "This is Captain Elara of the Terran Expeditionary Force. We rescued Xandri, unaware of any conflict. We have no quarrel with you. Perhaps we can negotiate." "Silence, human," Vorkath roared. "You have one standard rotation to comply, or we will reduce your ship to atoms." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Xandri turned to face the crew, its mental voice tinged with sorrow. "I owe you an explanation. My people, the Luminae, discovered an ancient artifact of immense power. Some, like Vorkath, believe it is the key to our ascension, but I have seen visions of the destruction it will bring. I tried to destroy it, but failed. Now I am hunted as a traitor." Captain Elara's expression hardened. "And you led them straight to us. We're not equipped to handle this kind of conflict, Xandri. We're explorers, not warriors." Zara stepped forward. "Captain, with all due respect, we can't just hand Xandri over. And we can't outrun those ships. We need to find another solution." For a tense moment, Elara said nothing. Then she nodded slowly. "You're right, Scout Vance. We don't abandon those in need, even if they're not human. Xandri, we'll need everything you know about these ships, their weaknesses, anything that might give us an edge." As Xandri began to share tactical information, Zara felt a glimmer of hope. The odds were stacked against them, but humans have a knack for beating impossible odds. Over the next several hours, the crew of the Horizon worked feverishly to prepare for the coming battle. Engineers reinforced the shields, tactical officers recalibrated weapons based on Xandri's insights, and Zara found herself working closely with the alien to devise unconventional strategies. As the deadline approached, Captain Elara called a final briefing. "This won't be easy," she said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "But we have two advantages. They don't expect us to fight, and they don't know how stubborn humans can be when backed into a corner." Xandri's mental voice chimed in, filled with a mix of gratitude and determination. "I have witnessed your courage and ingenuity firsthand. Together, we may yet find a way to overcome Vorkath's forces and prevent the artifact from falling into the wrong hands." As the crew dispersed to their stations, Zara felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to see Xandri, its eyes shimmering with an emotion she couldn't quite place. "Your kindness may have saved more than just my life, Zara," the alien communicated. "It may have given hope to entire galaxies." Zara managed a small smile. "Let's make sure we survive the next few hours first. Then we can worry about saving galaxies." As they made their way to their positions, red alert klaxons began to blare. Vorkath's ships were closing in, weapons charged. The battle for the fate of the Horizon, Xandri, and perhaps the galaxy itself, was about to begin. The Horizon trembled as it weaved through the barrage of enemy fire. Captain Elara's voice rang out clear and steady, issuing commands with practiced precision. Zara found herself at a tactical station, working in tandem with Xandri to coordinate the ship's defenses. "Evasive pattern Delta 3, Elara ordered as another volley of energy beams sliced through space around them. Xandri's mental voice resonated through the minds of the bridge crew. Their shield matrix fluctuates every 7.2 seconds, if we time our attacks precisely. "Got it," Zara interrupted, her fingers flying over the controls. Targeting solutions uploaded to all weapon stations. Fire on my mark. The next few minutes were a blur of action. The horizon unleashed a carefully timed barrage that punctured through the weakened shields of one of Vorkath's ships, causing it to list to one side, venting atmosphere. Direct hit, Security Chief Riven called out, a note of surprise in his usually stoic voice. But their small victory was short-lived. The remaining enemy ships regrouped, adopting a new formation that Xandre recognized with growing alarm. They're preparing to use the artifact, the alien communicated, its mental voice tinged with dread. If they succeed, they could tear a hole in space-time itself. Captain Elara's eyes narrowed. Explain, quickly. As Xandre began to share the true nature of the artifact, Zara felt a chill run down her spine. The device wasn't just a weapon. It was a key to unlocking the fundamental forces of the universe. In the wrong hands, it could reshape reality itself. Why didn't you tell us this before? Zara thought, unable to keep the accusation out of her mental voice. Xandre's crest rippled with shades of regret. I feared you wouldn't believe me. Or worse, that you might seek to use the artifact yourselves. Before anyone could respond, a massive energy surge erupted from Vorkath's flagship. Space itself seemed to warp and twist, stars stretching into impossible shapes. By the cosmos, Dr. Malik whispered, staring at the readings on his console. They're opening a rift. As the fabric of space-time began to tear, Xandre suddenly straightened, its eyes glowing with an inner light. There's still a chance, it communicated. But I'll need your help, Zara. Our minds, working in tandem, might be able to counteract the artifact's effects. Captain Elara looked between Xandre and Zara, her expression grim. Whatever you're planning, do it fast. We're running out of options. Zara nodded, stepping closer to Xandre. What do I need to do? Open your mind to me, Xandre instructed. Don't resist what you're about to experience. As Zara relaxed her mental barriers, she felt a rush of alien consciousness flood into her mind. Suddenly, she was seeing the universe through Xandre's eyes, a kaleidoscope of energy patterns and quantum possibilities. Together, their merged consciousness reached out towards the rift. Zara felt as if her very essence was being stretched across the cosmos. She saw glimpses of other realities, heard whispers of long-dead civilizations, and felt the pulse of creation itself. On the bridge of the horizon, the crew watched in awe as Zara and Xandre began to glow with an otherworldly light. Streams of energy flowed between them and out towards the rift, weaving a complex pattern that seemed to stabilize the tear in space-time. Vorkath's voice boomed across the comm channels, filled with rage and disbelief. Impossible. How are you doing this? But neither Zara nor Xandre could respond. They were lost in a sea of cosmic awareness, fighting against the overwhelming power of the artifact. As the rift began to close, Zara caught a glimpse of something beyond, a vast ancient intelligence that seemed to regard her with curiosity. In that moment, she understood that the artifact was more than a tool or a weapon. It was a test, left behind by beings so advanced they might as well be gods. With a final surge of combined will, Zara and Xandre sealed the rift. The energy backlash rippled across space, overloading systems on both the horizon and the enemy ships. As the glow faded, Zara collapsed, caught by Dr. Malik before she hit the floor. Xandre swayed but remained standing, its crest cycling through a rapid series of colors. Status report, Captain Elara demanded, her voice cutting through the haze of Zara's consciousness. The rift is closed, Captain, Riven reported. Enemy ships are disabled. Our systems are rebooting. As the crew scrambled to regain control of the ship, Zara looked up at Xandre, her mind still reeling from what she had experienced. What was that? She managed to ask. Xandre's mental voice was soft, filled with a mixture of awe and trepidation. The true nature of the cosmos, Zara, and a glimpse of those who came before. The artifact was never meant to be a weapon, but a key, a test to see if our species are ready for what lies beyond. As the implications of this revelation began to sink in, Captain Elara approached, her expression a mix of concern and curiosity. "I think," she said slowly, "we're going to need a much more detailed explanation, and then we need to decide what to do next. Because something tells me this is bigger than just our ship, or even our respective civilizations." Zara nodded, still leaning on Dr. Malik for support. She knew that what they had discovered today would change everything, not just for humanity, but for all sentient life in the galaxy. As the horizon drifted in the suddenly quiet expanse of space, surrounded by disabled enemy ships, Zara couldn't help but feel that they stood on the precipice of a new era. An era that would be shaped by the choices they made in the coming hours and days. The rescue of a single alien had led them to the threshold of cosmic revelation. Now they had to decide what to do with this newfound knowledge, and how to protect it from those who would misuse its power. The following days aboard the Horizon were a whirlwind of activity. As the ship limped towards the nearest Terran outpost for repairs, Captain Elara had her hands full managing the aftermath of the battle. Vorkath and his crew were detained in the brig, their ship's tow behind the Horizon in a makeshift convoy. Meanwhile, Zara found herself in an unexpected role, diplomat. As the only human who had shared a deep mental connection with Vandry, she became the de facto liaison between the Luminae and the Terran crew. In the ship's conference room, now serving as an impromptu war room, Zara sat next to Xandri, facing Captain Elara, Dr. Malik, and Security Chief Riven. The holographic display in the center of the table showed a swirling representation of the artifact's energy signature. "Let me get this straight," Elara said, pinching the bridge of her nose. "This artifact isn't just a weapon, but a test left behind by some hyper-advanced alien race." Sandri's mental voice resonated through their minds. "Correct. The beings we glimpsed, the precursors as we call them, seeded these tests throughout the galaxy. They're meant to gauge whether a species is ready for ascension." "Ascension to what?" Dr. Malik asked, his eyes gleaming with scientific curiosity. "That," Xandri admitted, "we do not know. But the power and knowledge contained within the artifact are beyond anything our civilizations have ever encountered." Riven leaned forward, his cybernetic eye whirring as it focused on the hologram. "And now that we've passed this test, what happens? Do these precursors just show up and welcome us to some cosmic club?" Zara shook her head. "I don't think it's that simple. From what I saw when we were linked, this is just the beginning. We've proven we have the potential, but now we have to decide what to do with this knowledge." Captain Elara stood, pacing the length of the room. "That's what concerns me. This kind of power, it could revolutionize our understanding of the universe. But in the wrong hands, it could destroy everything," Vandry finished, its crest darkening to a deep blue. A heavy silence fell over the room. The implications were staggering. They held knowledge that could elevate their species to unimaginable heights, or tear the fabric of the cosmos apart. Zara took a deep breath. I think we need to form an alliance, not just between humans and Luminae, but with any species willing to approach this responsibly. We can't let this knowledge fall into the hands of people like Vorkath, but we can't hide it away either. That's not what the precursors intended." Captain Elara nodded slowly. "An interstellar alliance, dedicated to understanding and protecting this knowledge. It won't be easy. There will be those who fear it, and others who'll want to exploit it. Then we'll face them together," Xandri communicated, its mental voice filled with determination. "My people have fought amongst ourselves for too long over the artifact. Perhaps this is our chance to unite for a greater purpose." Dr. Malik cleared his throat. "We'll need to establish protocols for studying the artifact safely, and we'll need to find a secure location to house it, somewhere neutral where no single species has full control." "I might have an idea about that," Zara said, a plan forming in her mind. "When we were linked, I saw glimpses of other artifacts. One of them is hidden on a planet not far from here. It's uninhabited, protected by ancient defenses. If we could reactivate those defenses..." Riven nodded approvingly. A fortress world, guarded by precursor tech. Not bad, Scout. Captain Elara straightened, a look of resolve settling on her face. All right, we have the beginnings of a plan, but we're going to need help. Zandri, can you contact any Luminae who might be sympathetic to our cause? There are others who share my views, Kandri confirmed. They've been in hiding, but they'll come if I call. Good, Elara said. I'll reach out to Terran High Command. We'll need to tread carefully. There are factions within our own government who might be too eager to use this power. As the meeting adjourned, Zara felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. They were about to embark on something unprecedented, an alliance that crossed the boundaries of species and cultures, united by a shared responsibility to the cosmos itself. Over the next few weeks, as the Horizon made its way to the coordinates of the hidden artifact, messages were sent, alliances were forged, and preparations were made. Representatives from a dozen species converged on the remote planet, each bringing their own expertise and perspectives. Standing on the bridge of the Horizon, watching the swirling blue-green world grow larger in the viewscreen, Zara felt a sense of awe. This was where it would all begin, a new chapter in the history of sentient life in the galaxy. Sandri stood beside her, its crest shimmering with anticipation. Are you ready? It asked telepathically. Zara nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. As ready as I'll ever be. We're about to change the course of history. As the ship began its descent towards the planet's surface, Zara couldn't help but feel that they were on the brink of something monumental. The alliance they were forging would face challenges, both from within and without. But together, they had a chance to unlock the secrets of the universe, and perhaps in time, to join the ranks of the precursors themselves. The real test, Zara realized, was just beginning, and humanity, along with their new allies, would face it together. The ancient precursor facility loomed before them, a sprawling complex of crystalline spires and impossible geometries that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Zara stood at the head of a diverse group of representatives from across the galaxy, each chosen for their expertise and integrity. Beside her, Zandri's crest shimmered with a mix of anticipation and reverence. It's even more magnificent than I imagined, breathed Dr. Malik, his eyes wide with wonder as he took in the alien architecture. Captain Elara stepped forward, her hand resting on the hilt of her phaser. Remember, we're not here as conquerors or thieves. We're here as custodians of something greater than ourselves. Stay alert, and don't touch anything without clearance. As they approached the main entrance, a shimmering barrier of energy flickered to life, blocking their path. Symbols of an unknown language danced across its surface, rearranging themselves in complex patterns. Zandri's mental voice resonated through the group. It's a test. The facility is asking for proof that we're worthy to enter. Zara stepped forward, drawn by an instinct she couldn't quite explain. She placed her hand against the barrier, feeling a tingling sensation course through her body. In her mind, she saw flashes of the cosmic awareness she had experienced during the battle with Vorkath. The barrier pulsed once, twice, and then dissolved into motes of light that swirled around the group before dissipating. We're in, Zara said, a note of awe in her voice. As they entered the facility, the interior came to life. Holographic displays sprang into existence, showing star maps and equations of mind-bending complexity. The assembled scientists and researchers immediately set to work, their excitement palpable as they began to unravel the secrets of the precursors. But their exploration was short-lived. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the complex, and the holographic displays flickered to show a fleet of ships entering the planet's atmosphere. It's Vorkath, Xandri communicated, its mental voice tinged with alarm. He must have broken free and followed us here. Captain Elara's voice crackled over the comms. All personnel, prepare for defensive action. We cannot let the artifact fall into enemy hands. As the facility's ancient defenses hummed to life, Zara found herself at a control panel, instinctively understanding its functions thanks to her lingering connection to the cosmic awareness. "I can activate the planetary shield," she called out, "but it won't hold forever against a concentrated assault." "Do it," Elara ordered. "We'll buy you time to figure out how to use the artifact to repel them permanently." The next hours were a blur of frantic activity. Outside, the combined forces of the newly formed alliance engaged Vorkath's fleet in a desperate battle. Inside, Zara worked alongside Xandri and the brightest minds from a dozen species to unlock the artifact's true potential. As the planetary shield began to buckle under the relentless assault, Zara felt a surge of inspiration. "The artifact," she gasped. "It's not just a key or a weapon. It's a focal point for the collective will of sentient beings. If we can all focus our intentions through it." Understanding dawned in Xandri's eyes. A gestalt consciousness, amplified by precursor technology. It could work, but it would require perfect harmony among all of us. "Then let's make it happen," Zara said, her voice filled with determination. Word spread quickly through the facility and to the ships in orbit. Every being, from the mightiest warrior to the most brilliant scientist, was called upon to lend their mental energy to the effort. As Vorkath's forces breached the shield and began their landing approach, Zara and Xandri stood at the heart of the precursor facility, their hands on the artifact. Around them, in concentric circles, stood representatives from every species in their fledgling alliance. "Focus on peace," Zara projected, her thoughts amplified by the artifact. "On unity. On the potential for growth and understanding." A wave of energy pulsed outward from the artifact, rippling through the minds of every being on the planet and in orbit. For a moment, Zara felt as if she could see through the eyes of every individual connected to the Gestalt, human, Lumini, and a dozen other species she had no name for. The pulse reached Vorkath's ships, and suddenly the attack ceased. Weapons powered down, and confused chatter filled the comm channels. In that moment of cosmic awareness, Vorkath and his followers experienced the same revelation that Zara and Xandri had glimpsed before. They saw the true nature of the artifact, the test it represented, and the potential future it promised. As the energy subsided, Zara opened her eyes to find the facility filled with a soft, golden light. Outside, Vorkath's ships hung motionless in the sky. "They're hailing us," Captain Elara's voice came through, a note of disbelief in her tone. On the main holographic display, Vorkath's face appeared. His expression was one of awe and humility. We understand now," he said, his voice trembling. "The artifact was never meant to be a weapon. We were blind, but now we see. Please, let us join you in this grand endeavor." Zara looked to Xandri, then to Captain Elara and the other leaders of their alliance. One by one, they nodded. "Welcome, Vorkath," Zara said, a smile spreading across her face. "Welcome to the beginning of a new era." As the sun set on that fateful day, representatives from races that had once been bitter enemies stood side by side, united in their commitment to unlocking the secrets of the cosmos. The artifact pulsed gently in the heart of the facility, a beacon of hope and a promise of wonders yet to come. Zara knew that challenges lay ahead. There would be setbacks, disagreements, and moments of doubt. But as she looked around at the diverse group of beings now joined in common purpose, she felt a surge of optimism. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, not as conquerors or victims, but as partners in a grand cosmic adventure. Together with their new allies, they would face the tests left behind by the precursors, and perhaps one day take their place among the stars as true children of the cosmos. As night fell on the alien world, Zara gazed up at the unfamiliar constellations, her heart full of wonder and possibility. The universe, she realized, was vaster and more marvelous than anyone had ever imagined, and they were just getting started.